Hey everybody, this is Jewelyn. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my home here in Santa Monica, California, and welcome to my favorite time of the year, my quarterly series on the channel, my plant tour of 600 plus plants here in sunny Santa Monica, California. Today's kind of gloomy, but I'm not complaining. It's perfect for the plant babies. So if you watched my last video on the main channel, you would have seen part 1 of 4 for my plant tour, which was the front of my home. And moving forward in the future, when I film my plant tours, I will break down the patio into 2 parts, which I did last time, and I'm going to have to do it again for this plant tour because I do not want a video that's longer than over half an hour. So you're gonna see part 1 today, and then in tomorrow's video you are going to see part 2. So in the future it'll always continue to be that. And at the end of my 4-part series, you will see the whole montage of the collection without me talking and just focusing on the plants. I like doing that. So if you don't like hearing me talk about the plants in the collection or what I have to say about the plants, then stay tuned because you will see the montage of the whole collection into one collective video where you can just turn it on, feel inspired, whether you're at home or doing planting. You can look at the collection that way. So stay tuned for that in the next couple of episodes. So in today's video, you are going to see part 1 of my patio plant tour. A lot of the collection is housed in this area, so this is the reason why I decided to break it down, because after I edited it down, it still was like 40 something minutes, and that's too long. I won't be doing those long videos anymore unless it is a live. I would like to do a live. I know I did several during lockdown. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video. At the end of part 2, I will be doing another giveaway. I hope you guys enjoy today's video, my patio plant tour part 1 of 2. Hey everybody, this is Jewelyn and Abby. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to our home here in Santa Monica, California, and welcome to my favorite time of the year, my summer 2020 plant tour. If you haven't watched the previous video on the channel, check it out. I share with you what the front of the studio looks like. In today's video, we are going to go through everything in the patio. Stick around for my upcoming plant tours where I share with you the inside of my studio as well as the bathroom. I hope you guys enjoy my summer 2020 plant tour. All right, welcome to my patio. It is a gorgeous day here in the month of August, Santa Monica, California, and I am looking forward to sharing with you the few updates that I did with the patio, the new plants that I've incorporated in the collection since my last plant tour in the spring. So let's go ahead and take a walkthrough, and then we'll start with the succulent shelf for the tour. So as far as for the layout of my patio, I have not changed anything since my spring tour, which was filmed almost 3 months ago. But I have incorporated a bunch of new plants in the patio, and I am looking forward to sharing with you all of the updates and all of the beautiful plant babies that entered the collection over the past 3 months. Here's another point of view from the potting bench. I have been loving this layout with both of my coffee tables and my Tiffany blue table on this diagonal. It's been working really well for me, so I kept the layout. Nothing has changed as far as for me moving around furniture, but you will see in a second all of the new plants that I've incorporated in the collection over the last 3 months. Be our helper. Abby, are you going to help mommy with today's tour? So this is the point of view that you see from the patio. I absolutely love this layout. It works for me, but we'll see in the next plant tour if I change anything else around. But for now, this works well for me, and I'm going to keep the layout and maybe move plants around. Right, here is a quick little overview of the succulent shelf. There has been a handful of new babies that got placed in this section over the last 3 months, and I've been loving the little changes. I believe this is a little update here. I brought my dancing bone ripsalis up higher on a plant stand. I really like how the way it feels, the pocket here between the gate and the shelf. I like it a lot, so I'm going to continue to keep a plant there, but I love the dancing bones in this section. My plants here on the top shelf, there's a few new babies here, and I'll point out in a second the ones that are kind of giving me a headache. For the most part, everything on my succulent shelf since the last tour, about 90% of the plant babies are still on here. 10% of them are new. I'll point out my ripsalis here. I recently planted up and it was part of my birthday plant haul. It's living in Coco Coir. I love this plant so much, and it's nice to have some ripsalises here on the succulent shelf. I also have cuttings from my original Ripsalis pilocarpa. If you watch my planting with Jewelyn recently, you would have seen me fixing it up. So I just have it out here now. It'll no longer live in the studio. Then changes here on the left, I just have one new plant baby that I've incorporated in this section, and that's my Stipelia here. And this was part of a plant tray with my plant friend Sonia from her mother plant. And other than that, everything here in this section has been living on the succulent shelf from the last tour. Nobody's giving me any issues here, so I'm happy to report that. That's kind of stressing me out right now is my string of bananas. I don't know what's going on with him, but after this tour I am watering the whole collection, so I'll make sure that it gets a drink of water. Right, a lot of trailing babies on the second shelf. I will point out that I brought this sedum here that is wild and crazy to be part of the second shelf. Originally, I think in the last plant tour it was living on the ground with a planter under it, but I think it's time for it to come on a shelf. Especially sedums are super delicate. If you bump them, it'll just ruin the whole look. So there's a bunch of delicate trailing succulent babies here on the second shelf. Cascading plant babies, whether it's cactus, succulent, or house plants. So that's kind of the theme of the second shelf. Other than bringing that one sedum up on the second shelf, all of these plant babies here have been living on this shelf since the last spring 2020 plant tour. As for the third level here on my DIY succulent shelf, I did a few changes here. I added my newest Stipelia that I got as a plant tray from my plant friend Sonia. I recently planted this up right before I started during the tour, so that's very new. I also brought my trailing variegated jade up another level just for some different contrast. Other than that, the rest of the plant babies were living on this level from our last plant tour. Everybody's doing really good. On the very bottom shelf, I do make use of all of my spaces if you see my collection and the plant tour. Everything down here remains the same, except I brought my campfire jade on the left here up a level. It was actually living on the ground in front of the shelf, but because it's long and traily touching the ground, I needed to make space on the shelf for it, so it's just tucked there in the left corner. Other than that, all of the plant babies on the bottom shelf were here from the last tour, doing really good. Here is my little plant gang in front of the succulent shelf. No new updates here, except I just moved a Haworthia that was living in the front of my home. That was a gift from my subscriber. I recently brought it into the patio because I think it was getting too much sun for the type of plant it is. So I decided to bring it here, and it's gonna be okay. Haworthias do really good on the succulent shelf, so I don't have any more room for any more plant babies, so it's just living here down by the peperomias and other plant babies that I got from subscribers and plant friends. So I wish this Haworthia good luck. Other than that, same plants live here in this section, and it works really well. Okay, new plant baby here on the plant stand. This is one of my newest Tridescantias that I got from Sonia's mother plant. I recently planted up in a planting with Jewelyn, and it's doing really good. There was another Tridescantia living in this section the last plant tour, but if you watch that planting with Jewelyn, I took all of the trails off. I made cuttings out of it because it was looking not the greatest, and it's all living in my greenhouse, hopefully rooting up as we speak. So now there's another Tridescantia here, and I love something that can take up a lot of space. I love displaying at least one plant here in this section. I randomly always end up choosing a Tridescantia to get styled here. It works really well, and I'm glad that I was able to at least have a place for this new Tridescantia. The way how it's growing, I probably might make more cuttings out of this big section here that's tall. This Tridescantia is growing kind of interesting, so it's leaning against the bricks, but maybe in time I might just make cuttings out of it and fill up the planter. But for now, it's just living its life the way how I got it. Rooted up really quickly. If you haven't watched that planting with Jewelyn, check it out on the channel. So this is the current vibe and look of the succulent shelf. Again, 90% of the plant babies in this section were here from the last tour, and I was able to incorporate a few new plant babies that I purchased for the summer. I really like this shelf a lot. It is never going to move as far as for styling plants in the patio. You see, this plant shelf was made specifically for this spot. That is one reason why I love this DIY brick and wood method. Very inexpensive, and you can customize it to the size that you want. And this is a perfect way to display so many plant babies. Here is the point of view from my entryway, looking at the fountain. The fountain is there, but there's a lot of green around it, and I really like the vibe. There's a handful of new plant babies that I incorporated in this section since the last plant tour. So let's go through and share with you the few updates. Talk about the plant babies in this section here. As far as for the plants on the ground, my Hoya obovata, my Cressula ovata variegata, and my Euphorbia, they all remain the same. I have not moved them. But I did bring my Sigonium here up on a brick block and in front of my 3-tier wire plant stand, just to fill that pocket in the front, because I brought my Philodendron here, my Cilium, in this section. It was originally living in, I think, a blue planter on a plant stand, but I moved it into a white planter that's smaller, and it's been living here for a couple of days. So hopefully it'll like living life here. But that is definitely a new part of the plant gang in this section, and I think it blends in well. The 3 babies on this 3-tier wire plant stand is still the same. They work really well. My Philodendron Atomic Bond, my Curly Spider Plant, and my Alocasia Lowrider. They're just gonna remain here on this plant stand, and it works perfect. As you see, there's dappled sunlighting and then the humidity from my fountain. Okay, there's a lot going on this wooden bench, but it's perfect for a lot of plant babies that needs humidity and dappled lighting. So a lot of ferns and begonias in this section. My Boston fern is tucked in the back there. He takes up a lot of room, but that's like a perfect place for him, so he remains the same there next to my holly fern. And I have my angel wing begonia in this section as well. As you see, my angel wing begonia looks pretty happy here, giving lots of new growth. And then my blue star fern is doing really good here, so it's gonna remain living here. There's a bunch of new plant babies in this section. Begonium all the way on the right hand side in that white plastic planter is doing really good. It's gonna remain staying there. It was there from my last plant tour. But tucked and hidden next to it, I do have 2 begonias that I recently got from Santa Barbara, and I just transplanted them in a white plastic planter, and it's going to just stay in those plastic planters. And I'm not too sure if I'm gonna have them in the bathroom one day, but for now it's gonna stay here. I'm gonna see how well it does over the first month being in the collection. But I just recently got them, so I'm just kind of feeling them out and seeing what they like. Closer look of the 2 begonias I recently got just a few days ago, and I love to have begonias every now and then enter into the collection. They can be a hit or miss as far as for growing them. This section here, you see my Chinese evergreen that I got as a gift from my subscriber, and a Sigonium arrowhead that I recently transplanted into soil. So these are very new. They've just been here for a day, and hopefully it likes living in this section. If not, I'll move it. Peperomia scandens is doing really good, as well as my Peperomia scandens variegata. They will remain staying here, but I did hang up my Peperomia that I got from Sonia as a birthday plant gift, I believe, last year, and I recently just put this up like for today's plant tour, and I like it. It's trailing long, it looks great, so I'm gonna have it live here for the rest of the year and see. But now I know I can hang a plant here, and I think that's perfect, because originally this Peperomia was living on this wooden bench, but now that it trailed so long, I think it belongs in a hanging planter, and it's great that I can fill this space here with 1 trailing plant baby, so that works out well. I really love the look of that. Here we are on one side of the fountain, and there's a lot of new plant babies in this section. I have my Alocasia. I don't know exactly what kind of Alocasia it is. It's fairly new in the collection, and it was not ID. Peperomia guinea recently moved here today. It's gonna live here for a while. It wasn't doing good on my wicker coffee table, so let's see how it does in this section. And I like that it fills that little pocket down there. Other than that, my Alocasia is doing really good here. As far as for half of George, he's doing really good in this section. You'll see the other half of him in a second. But my goal is to find him a planter this week in Las Vegas and hopefully put him back together. So that's my goal for him. Corner pocket here, you see my original Philodendron bipennifolium, my panda. It's doing really good. As you see, I even had to add a little stake above my DIY stake to help it, because as you see, it grew over 3 feet longer than the pole I made for it. So I know it's happy living out here. It's giving me signs that it's happy. I might make a new pole for him that's longer. We'll see. That's gonna take forever to make, or I just might cut from this. I hate to do that and like make more cuttings. If you guys are interested, I will only cut if I sell. Other than that, I hate to propagate a plant that's doing really good, especially since I have hundreds of plants. There's no need for me to make more. So we'll see what I have planned for that. Okay, my vintage spiral plant stand. I love this plant stand so much. It was such a great find. As far as for the plant babies in this section, all of the plants remain the same. I have not switched out the plants since the last plant tour. My spider plant, asparagus fern, my Hoya bella, my Peperomia angulata. I have my, looks like bird's nest fishtail fern down there. Another Sigonium tucked in that pocket, and it's doing really good here, so I'm not changing anything in this section. I have my prayer plant, my Maranta there. Sometimes it's happy, sometimes it's not. I don't know what to do with him. And then I have the rabbit's foot ferns that was gifted to me from my subscriber. It's still living in the nursery planter. I don't know what to do with him. One day I'll move him into something more permanent, but it's hanging out. No changes here on this vintage plant stand. All of the plants are happy here, so I'm not gonna mess around with it. Just leave this plant stand as is. I like the look of it, and we'll see if I do any changes. But I believe my fern and my Sigonium is definitely happy in this section, so they're not gonna be moved. Behind one of my vintage wicker chairs, I have 3 hanging plants here doing really good. My aeoniums that I got from my host in the Bay Area a couple years ago. My goldfish plant, as well as my original string of hearts, doing really good, so I'm not gonna mess with that. To this section, I have my original rick rack hanging here on the tree branch in a coco coir basket, doing really good. But if you take a look at the trend here to the right, you see that I hung up a bunch of new baskets here. So I decided to move my cactus fern to this section. I think it's perfect where it is. For the hanging plants here along my patio, this is fairly new. I just recently did this maybe about 2 weeks or so. And I decided to bring my cactus fern here because it's not gonna get bumped by accident and break a trail. It gets dappled sunlighting, it's not in direct sun, and it can just have freedom to trail down without anything hitting it. So it works well to be in this spot. But if you look here, I have my 3 newest coco coir baskets. Because I don't have any hanging system, it's just hanging out here. Ideally, I would like to find someplace above me as far as for hanging plants. My goal for these 3 coco coir baskets would be to make another DIY system and have them hang on there. I'm just having them hang alongside the patio, and it works really well. In the back corner, you see one of my Ripsalises, and then I have my second epiphyllum, my rickrack, and then another Ripsalis. But I really like that I was able to do this for them for the summer 2020 plant tour. I want to say that they are happy with the new mixture being in coco coir and in a hanging basket, because if you've seen me plant them up in a previous planting with Jewelyn, they were living, I believe, in terracotta planters in a cactus succulent mix. But I'm slowly transitioning my Ripsalises and epiphyllums to coco coir mixture. And I love these hanging baskets. They were such a deal. I found them in Las Vegas and I sprayed them white to match my aesthetic. I decided to bring my 2 DIY plant stands here, and I don't want any more plants behind this little corner pocket. This corner pocket will just stay empty. All of the leaves from the tree, I just kind of blow it there, and then on Mondays I move the plants away from this section and my gardener can take away the leaves. If you watch the vlog channel, then you know what I am talking about. So I've been able to incorporate a few plants in this section. I have one of my Philodendron Xanadu here. I got Sansevieras. I got 2 of my prize Aeoniums here and my Ripsalis. So I like that I'm able to have them off of the ground, and they're just great conversational pieces. So I like looking at them on that level. Section, there's a lot of cool things happening. A lot of new plants actually. So I have my Cissus quadrangularis in the owl planter. I do have a few more cuttings from Sonia's mother plant that is growing in the greenhouse, which by the way, I have over 100 plants in the greenhouse. And then I recently planted up this epiphyllum that I got from my subscriber. Actually, I planted that up earlier today, so you would have seen that planting with Jewelyn before these tours. So it's new. It's been living there just for a couple of hours, as well as these aeoniums. So the aeonium in the terracotta here is my original one that I recently purchased from my big, large plant haul. And then the ones on the bottom of the planter are from Sonia's mother plant. So these are all new to the collection. And front and center here is my largest crested aeonium, Sunburst variegata. And you would have seen this in my large plant haul. And can you guys like take a look at the size difference from my original crested aeonium and then now my new one next to it? I love them equally. I will never ever give up any of my large crested aeoniums unless it was for a good reason. I love collecting. I definitely now need to do an updated aeonium collective. It'll be really fun to see them all ganged up together. And if you haven't watched my plant tour for the front of the home prior to this video, check it out. There's a lot more of aeonium style there. Other than that, I just have two of my sansevierias, my Kirkii, my copper. And then I have a cylindrical sansevieria here. I don't know the ID of him. This is fairly new to the collection. It was not here since my last plant tour. And then I have my patens here on the bottom. That is definitely a prized sansevieria. I'm not going to get rid of him. So I just have three sansevierias here. And then as well as my Hoya obovata. Two Hoya obovatas in the patio. Maybe I might group them up together. And I love how it's just trailing and living life there. Other than that, I did bring one of my aeonium baskets here. As you see, I do utilize this wooden fence here along the patio to hang all of my plant babies. So it's doing really good. It's not aeonium season at this time of the year, so hopefully we'll see more activity from it in the future. Cressula from my subscriber that I put in this plastic hanging basket is doing good. This has been living here for maybe a month. And so far so good. There's a little update of this section of the patio. I still have my Hoya Carnosa Crimson Princess. My string of hooks will not move. This is its permanent home because of how long the trails is. The hanging plants in this section, my Hoya Carnosa Crimson Princess here on the left and my string of hooks on the right of it has been living here since the last plant tour. But I believe my Ripsalis here in the macrame hanging and my Philodendron Brazil are established plants in the collection, but they have been recently moved here and it's been working out really good. I like a mixture of cacti, succulents, and houseplants in the patio, as you can see. And then I have my one Ripsalis here hanging on my DIY system. Alright you guys, that is going to wrap up my patio plant tour part 1. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tomorrow to see part 2. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And stick around because I still have part 3 and 4 to share with you, which is inside of my studio and inside of my bathroom. Every plant tour I try to do something different as far as for styling my plants to switch it up. It's always interesting to see the collection evolve over time. Every week I'm bringing in new plant babies, so it's just fun to do something different for the plant tour. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Come back for part 2. If you're new, welcome to the channel. Subscribe for daily uploads between the main channel Monday to Thursday and the vlog channel Friday, Sunday. You get a video each and every day. Until next time, aloha from Santa Monica, California.